Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Sharon Bown, and joining us this evening from the Australian Army is Sergeant David Cox. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of the following New South Wales schools: Zigzag Public School, Lithgow, and St Agnes's Catholic Primary School, Matraville. If you are able, would you now please stand and join in singing the National Anthem? Boys and girls, and those requiring a seat, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant George Philip Slatter. George Slatter was born on the 26th of September 1893 in Engelberg, Queensland, one of 13 children born to Jonathan and Alan Slatter. He received his education at Maroon State School near his parents' property, Crendon. At the outbreak of war in 1914, he was working as a farmer. Slatter enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 10th of February 1916, having previously been rejected for service because of an injured knee. Once accepted, he was assigned to the 11th Machine Gun Company and began a short period of training in Australia. He embarked for active service from Sydney on the 5th of June 1916 on the troopship Border. After a long voyage, Slatter arrived in Egypt and continued training with his unit for a number of months. He later travelled to England with his unit and after further training was sent to the Western Front in November. He spent the bitterly cold winter of 1916 and 1917 rotating in and out of the front lines. In March 1917, he was promoted to corporal before his unit participated in the advance that followed the Germans' retreat to the Hindenburg Line. During the fighting, Slatter was hit by German machine gun fire and was badly wounded in the head, arms, and legs. He was evacuated to England for treatment and did not return to his unit until late October 1917, having spent several months training and recovering overseas. He rejoined his unit during the Battle of Passchendaele, where it had been placed in reserve. His unit had fought through several major battles earlier that year at Messines, Roeton, and Brucinda. Though not actively involved in the advance at Passchendaele, his brigade suffered heavily owing to German gas attacks and illness caused by the conditions in the trenches. By the time Passchendaele Ridge was taken, Australian casualties amounted to over 35,000 killed, missing, or wounded during the 5 months of fighting. Slatter and his unit spent the remainder of 1917 working in and out of the front lines in Belgium. He was briefly hospitalised with influenza in November before joining the brigade training school in December, where he was promoted to temporary sergeant before returning to the trenches for another cold winter. On the 28th of January 1918, Slatter's unit was serving along the border of France and Belgium near the village of Le Bizet. His unit was returning to the front lines to relieve troops when a high explosive shell hit their party, wounding him and several others. He was taken by ambulance to the nearest casualty clearing station, but his wounds proved too severe and he died the following morning. Sergeant George Slatter was buried nearby at Trois Arbres Cemetery beneath the simple inscription chosen by his family. Peacefully sleeping, his duty done. He was 24 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant George Philip Slatter, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.